Sometimes I worry that caring about elegance and beauty and leveling up is somewhat out of touch or shallow, especially when the world around us seems so chaotic and seems like it's falling apart at times. Kindness seems such a rare quality these days. Everybody is so concerned about an us versus them approach. We're so quick to look for differences in other people rather than similarities. And people, humans, are far more similar than we are different. So in this video, I really wanted to talk about how you can still be a woman of grace and elegance, or just wanting to level up for yourself in a world that seems overwhelming, that seems chaotic. Because grace and beauty and class does not come down to always just how you look. It is very much how you present yourself and how you treat others and how you move in the world, especially when everything around you feels like it's falling apart. So let's talk about 3 things that I think are important to look at right now: how we look at ourselves and how we treat ourselves, how we treat our friends, family, and those close to us, and how we treat others around the world as a whole. I think a lot about Audrey Hepburn in times like this and the humanitarian work she did with UNICEF, how she held starving children, how she spoke to political leaders about inciting change. And yet she was considered one of the most elegant, graceful women there are. And I think if you have any sort of privilege, which does not make you better in any shape or form, whether you are lucky to live in a particular country, to look a certain way, to have a certain amount of money, this is not down to anyone being better than anyone else. It's mostly down to luck. But if you do have any sort of luck or privilege, then you can actually use that to make the world a better place. Not just for yourself, but for anybody that deserves a place here in the world. Let's start with you and keeping that calm presence. We need to start with ourselves first and foremost. Just like on an airplane where you have to use the oxygen mask on yourself before you help others, you can't go into a chaotic world when you're living in chaos yourself. That is not going to help anyone. This is not about numbing out and pretending that the bad things in the world don't happen. This is about being realistic, but not crumbling under any sort of panic or fear. So depending on your lifestyle, this is just making your routines more of a sanctuary, making everything around you as peaceful and as calm as possible. This is not to be naive, it's just to remain disciplined and give yourself that level of peace before you go and try and help anybody else. So a few things you can do is to limit the doom scrolling. We can get so caught up in social media or news stories about what is going on that sometimes that fear can cause us to spiral a little bit. So limit your time on social media. If you need to take a moment, take a moment. Go light a candle, go have a bath, put on some relaxing music, and just do little things that make you start to feel good about yourself again. You'll have so much more power in the world if you have that confidence in yourself first. Then you can start to go and make things happen. So start with yourself first. Let that be your silent rebellion against a chaotic world. You're going to be okay first. Let's say now that you're calm, you're confident, you're coming from a place of peace. What next? You are allowed to care about what's going on in the world. You are allowed to care deeply, but be very careful about the information that's coming in. The key is to be informed, but not overwhelmed. So that's looking at news from unbiased sources. That's setting boundaries about what you're consuming and who you're following. There are still a lot of news channels that are unbiased. There's not a lot of them left, of course. A lot of them are owned by governments or organizations that tend to try and skew the news in a certain way. But most of all, you need to become educated and practice critical thinking. This is not to say that both sides are right or wrong. This is just putting your critical thinking hat on. The more that you can critically analyze situations, the less you'll be swayed by one source or another. And remember that feelings are not always facts. We know that true class is how you treat people, and not only when somebody else is watching, but how you treat people all of the time. You're allowed to use your voice where it matters if you feel strongly about something. You're allowed to volunteer. You're allowed to donate money, and you don't have to tell people where you're donating your money. So supporting causes that you're really passionate about is a great thing, but come from a place of empathy and not ego. Stop having an us versus them mentality and see people as people first, as humans. And you don't even have to start with big global movements. You can start in your own community. Those small acts of kindness can really help in a world that's chaotic. It doesn't have to be on a global scale, but it can be. The world is starving for hope, for empathy, for kindness, being gracious, being generous where you can, being empathetic towards other people, being self-aware of your place in the world and not letting your ego overtake you're self-critical, you're educated thinking. You can be both. You can care deeply about what happens in your own life as well as what happens in the world. It is important to stay grounded while the world is chaotic. You can do something for yourself, you can do something for those closest to you, you can do something for the world if you want to. Being brave is one of the most elegant things you can be. I'm going to close this video on an Audrey Hepburn quote that I really love and I think is probably relevant right now. As you grow older, you will discover that you have two hands, one for helping yourself and the other for helping others. I love that. I hope you've enjoyed this video and I'll see you in the next one. Mwah.